All right, I got the notification that the recording has started. So welcome everybody. For those of you that I have not met before, my name is Eric Waymeyer. I'm a senior account manager here at Express Maintenance. And late last year, we decided that we wanted to start doing some live webinars, and for the main purpose of connecting with our customers, because we don't get to, shake hands with everybody, but also to educate and equip you guys so that you guys can constantly get more and more and more out of the software. Um, I guess about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, we started doing some regular health checks with our customers. And a health check is something that you can schedule once or twice a year, where we come in, we take a look at your database remotely. It's a free session. And basically, it's like walking into the doctor's office. You're like, hey, it's just a checkup. I'm not sure if I'm sick, but if I could have a better standard of living, then it would be helpful. So what we do is we just kind of look at how things are set up in your system. Then we ask you about what your goals are with Express Maintenance, and then we show you how to achieve those goals faster than you would if you were just trying to figure it out for yourself. So you can schedule those, reach out. You can email us at sales@expressmaintenance.com, and just say, hey, I'd like to schedule one of those health checks, and we can get that scheduled for you. They're very helpful because a lot of times we find that a lot of our customers have adopted the software from somebody else who set it up, or maybe it's gone through 5 or 6 different people who set it up, and they're not really sure how it works, or maybe it wasn't even set up correctly. And they're like, man, it could be difficult to use sometimes. And normally when we get in there, it's like it wasn't set up correctly. Nobody's been trained on it, and it can be very cumbersome. And that would be like me, asking you to get inside a car that I built and I didn't know how to build it. And then I put you in the back seat and say, hey, let's get this thing going. And you're like, I don't think this is going to work. Well, it's not really the car's problem. It's that we need to make sure that it was set up correctly and then get you trained on it. So the purpose of today is we're talking about how to set up work orders, best practices. And what you're going to see today is what we like to standardize for our customers. And so far, everybody's really liked what we've done. You may find that your system is not set up the same way that ours is, and that's okay. Express Maintenance is flexible. It's designed to be flexible for a reason. We don't want you to fit our software model. We want the software to be able to wrap around your business practices, your workflows, and your standard operating procedures and things like that. So don't worry if you see some fields that are set up a little different. I would take notes on that, and then that's something that we can discuss in a health check or a demo or something, whatever you guys want to see. Now, what you're going to be looking at today is Express Maintenance from the cloud perspective. So what you can see, I'm inside a Chrome browser here. And I got an email this morning. Another one of our customers didn't even realize that we offer a cloud version of Express Maintenance, and we do, and we're moving more and more in that direction. It's usually it's faster, and we back it up all the time. So that's why it may look a little different. We are currently on version 9.8.1.39. If you're on the cloud, you're already on that version. If you're on-prem, that's the next version to upgrade to. And so I think that's all of like the housekeeping stuff. Let's get started. Okay, so what needs to be set up in order to create a work order? Well, a work order in Express Maintenance is something that has a service assigned to it and collects service history. So whether it's a preventive maintenance task or service, whether it's predictive services or a breakdown or a scheduled safety inspection, all of those are set up as services inside Express Maintenance, and then every single one of those becomes a work order. And so the 3 key components to a work order are parts, equipment, and services. So we're going to take a look at each one of these really quick. And here's your list of equipment. And you can see we have the name, type, category, make, model. The things that are important to a work order are going to be that you actually have the equipment listed inside Express Maintenance. You can't go to a work order and add a piece of equipment from the work order. You have to go back to the equipment overview, add your piece of equipment, and then add that to the work order. Same thing with parts. Your parts need to be in the system. If the part doesn't exist, you can't add it to a work order. And then you want to have your planned and demand services. So when you list all of your equipment, like here you can see I just have my equipment overview. Then you have all of your parts. Here's my parts overview and parts data view. And then you have your list of services. Here's a list of all of my services. I can sort these by preventive. I have preventive, capital, inspection, inventories, lube maintenance, predictive, preventive, repair, safety, rebuilds, tool replacements. I can add any kind of service that I want. What's important about the services is if you're building preventive maintenance service, you want to create the service this way, where your tasks are listed on the service. You don't want the service itself to be a task. Now, that might rock some of your worlds. I've noticed a trend in customers who've been around for a while. They still have the service as tasks, and that's just not the way it was designed. And so if that's you, let us know. Let's have a discussion about what it would take, because I have no doubt that if you're doing it that way, it's made it harder to maintain the software, not easier. So keep that in mind. And we'll get into more on preventive maintenance and how to set up preventive maintenance services and all of that in 2 weeks. But for now, we're just showing you how to where the services come from that you end up picking out on a work order. So that's an example of a preventive maintenance service. You can see it's due every 6 months. If we scroll down here, we can see a list of repair services. So these are typically built noun verb. So we have a belt that needs repaired or a belt that needs replaced. And these things are created here, and then we add them to a work order. So you have your equipment list is in the system, your parts list is in the system, your services are in the system, and now you have the different ways that work orders are created once you have those 3 main components. So the first one is requests. So the way you have express maintenance, which is your asset management software. That's where maintenance technicians, maintenance supervisors, your maintenance manager, your planners and schedulers, your parts inventory specialists, they all log into Express Maintenance to do their job, whether it's on the desktop or the mobile application. And then you have operators who, for the most part, they will log into Express Request. Now, some of you haven't seen Express Request, so I want to take a moment and show you how that process works. If I'm a requester, I log into Express Request, and it's just a domain URL. They can log in from anywhere, as long as you've given them access. And then when they log in, they can see just the requests that they've submitted for themselves, or they can see everybody's requests if you've given them permission to do so. So when they want to submit a work order request, they just go to Add New, and they can pick out their equipment name. My favorite is the air compressor. You'll see that. The date desired, of course, everybody wants it yesterday. Okay. Priority, they can pick out of this options, which you guys can customize and build yourself. Cost center, if you want to use those. They get to select from the services, the list of services that you gave them the authority to see. So not every service listed in Express Maintenance is in this list. It is only the ones that you marked as available to select from this list. We'll say it just needs a belt repair, and then they can type in notes here. Here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so they type in some notes, and then they save changes. An email goes out to the maintenance team, notifying them that the request is there, and then in Express Maintenance, the request can go one or two places. It can go to this requests module, which the request that I submitted shouldn't show up here because I actually have it set up to automatically bypass this and go to the work order overview as a new work order. So that's the two channels for requests. A requester submits a work order, and then you guys can decide, okay, I want all my requests to show up here, and then I manually move them over to work orders, or I can have it set up to where anytime a work order request is submitted, it automatically goes to the work order overview and creates a demand work order for me. So that is requests. Okay, that's how a request becomes a work order. This is the work order, and then you would complete it from there. And we'll get into that here in a second. So then you have your preventive maintenance services. So if you've been around for a while, you know that you add your preventive maintenance services to the equipment down here. Okay, so you have this drop down as a list of all your services. So those are actually created in this menu. So I'm under administration, go to services, that brings this up. If I want to add a new service, then I just simply go up here, hit the plus button. We'll do that. We'll get into that next week. But here's those air compressor services that you see when I'm on the equipment screen, and these are the ones that I've selected. So I create them in that list of services, I add them here, and then I fill out the rest of this, and then based on whatever I have added here, will determine when that service comes due, how often it comes due, what the work instructions are. Like right here, the work instructions should already be listed here, and they are. Whatever notes are here come from the list of services over here. Here they are. And then when those are added to the equipment, and then that service comes due and it's converted into a work order, all those work instructions follow right along all the way to the work order. Same thing with any parts that you have pre-assigned, the pre-assigned employee, all of that. Now, from here, you can do one of two things. You can have that service every time it comes due show up in your service overview right here. Or you can have it set up like requests to where anytime a service comes due, it automatically creates a work order. So I have one listed here. I want to show you how this becomes a work order from the service overview. You just simply select that service, and you'll notice that it has the equipment name, the service category, when it's due, how many days until it was last saved, any parts that are included on that service, last performed date, all of that. And then you come up here and you click the create work order button. And then the scheduler comes up, and I'm going to say, yeah, I want this. Actually, I'm going to take care of this a little early. I'm going to do it tomorrow. This is a planned work order. It's preventive maintenance. The class, I already know that I don't need any parts for this, so I'm just going to move it to scheduled. And then what work group is responsible? Maintenance, the technician. I'm going to assign it to myself, hit proceed. That creates the work order, and I will show you the PDF version of the work order. I know a lot of you guys are moving away from paper and going to the mobile app, but here's what that work order would look like if you were to print it out. Okay, so here's the work order. All right, so we've looked at how to move requests, when a requester requests a work order, it automatically becomes a work order, or you can manually, you can have it set up to where you have to manually create a work order out of those requests, and how a scheduled service becomes a work order. Now you've got a list of work orders that's building up. If I go to my service overview and I search for all of my open work orders, here's a list of all my open work orders right here. And I can see which ones are demand, which ones are planned. I've got a planned one here. What work group is responsible for that, where it's at in the planning scheduling process, what my labor estimate is for this group of work orders that I have pulled up based on my filters. how many labor hours are currently against those work orders. Those will add up and tally up. My labor rate, my parts cost, downtime, all of that is listed right here in your work order overview. And in a future session, I'll show you how to do planning and scheduling from here. But this is your list of work orders. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so a requester can request a work order and the system can automatically generate a preventive maintenance service or a scheduled service. Well, how do I just create a work order? Well, there's two ways to do that. You can do it from within Express Maintenance, the desktop version, which you just simply come up here, hit insert record, and you're off. You just pick what piece of equipment you want to create the work order for and fill out these fields. If you go through our work order training, then you get trained on, how to actually create the work order, what standard operating procedures, what fields you use, how you use those fields, so that the technician is set up for success as far as when they pull up their mobile app, they can just get to work and you're utilizing them at max efficiency. But then you add your services, your parts, any attachments are all included here. So that's the three ways that work orders are created. You have requests, scheduled services, and demand. And that's what each one of those looks like. Once you're done with those, or once they've been created, they all show up in your work order overview. And now a technician can go in and use those, can find those work orders, and whether they print them, whether they carry them on a tablet or on a smartphone, they can take those the service notes, the parts that are required, everything is at their fingertips, and it makes it a whole lot easier to complete their work and move from job to job efficiently. So one thing I do want to point out is a couple of the setup pieces under oh yeah, right here, category, group, and class. So I want to take just a second and explain how we use these, because these three fields are the ones that we find most people don't have set up correctly, or they don't use them at all. And I just want to encourage you guys to use as many fields as possible, because remember, and I think I've said this every webinar, the gold that you're mining out of your maintenance management software is the service history that creates for you the key performance indicators that you can use to make better business decisions by utilizing that timely, actionable, and intelligent data to tell you what business decisions you need to be making. If you're not entering good service history, if you're not entering your estimated and actual labor hours, if you're not entering your parts cost, if you're not entering your downtime, if you're not entering your started and completed times, all of that will break down your ability to provide the reports PM completion on time report, your mean time between failure report, your mean time to repair report, your total cost to maintain report. All of those are critical as far as being able to make better business decisions. And so I'm on my soapbox right now. The more service history you can add, the better your reporting will be. And these three fields, I think, are absolutely critical for you to be able to run successful reports. Okay, so let me show you why. This first field, the category, shows us the difference between planned and demand. So if I go to my maintenance reports and I want to run my total cost to maintain report, and let's just go back a year, and I want to see all of my total cost to maintain based on all of my demand maintenance, I can see that over the last year, I've spent this much money on all of these assets in demand maintenance. And it's just like that. At the click of a button, I have access to that information. And that only works if you're putting in your service history and if you're using that field to break up whether or not you're doing planned or demand maintenance. Furthermore, you have the group. The group tells us, okay, it was planned. Fine. What kind of planned maintenance was it? It was preventive maintenance. It was predictive maintenance. Or I think one of the most critical ones is it was a service that was generated out of a preventive maintenance or a predictive maintenance scheduled service. Nothing tells you that your PM program is working better than while doing your PMs, you find a repair that needs to be done. You would mark that PM PDM generated, and then you could see whether or not you are actually finding faults and correcting them during your PM program. And then if it was a demand or reactive work order, well, you can add all your breakdown codes. And by the way, this list isn't exhaustive. You guys have the capability to go in and modify this drop-down list and make it match whatever fault codes, preventive maintenance tasks you want. And so keep that in mind. And then this one right here is critical for planning and scheduling. You can classify where the work order is at in the planning scheduling process by using this field, and whether it's, you can have it set to where it will mark the new request as needs reviewed, because we have no idea what's actually going on. That's like your troubleshooting step. Once you get a better idea, a better feel for what it needs, you may realize that the part that's required is not on hand. Now, how would you know that? You create this work order. You say, okay, I'm going to need this part. And if I open this drop down, I can see that part, I've got 5 on hand. And I got 4 set as my minimum. So I'm good. It doesn't need to be set to need to order parts. I'm not waiting on parts. And there's no reason to wait to schedule it. But I can move it to scheduled. And now that's the one that the technician will pull up and say, okay, by searching for scheduled work orders assigned to me, I know it's gone through the planning and scheduling process. I know that the part is available, the equipment's going to be available, I'm available, so we can get to work instead of all the guesswork surrounding planning and scheduling normally. And the whole ready to schedule piece, so you may have different people doing different parts of this planning scheduling process. And maybe you have a supervisor who is going to review the needs review, and maybe they do that, first thing in the morning, and then they move it to need to order parts. Well, your parts clerk may, by being able to log into Express Maintenance and search on all work orders whose class is need to order parts, they can go into the system, verify that part needs to be ordered, and then go order that part, and then move the work order to waiting on parts. And then that goes back to the maintenance supervisor or the planner scheduler, and they can see everything that's waiting on parts. And then as parts come in, they're moving that work order from waiting on parts to ready to schedule. And then once the maintenance manager or planner is ready to schedule those, he looks at all of the work orders that are ready to schedule, looks at, Timmy's workload for the week, sees that he's got an extra 5 hours of time that he can issue to him. So he moves it into Timmy's queue for work orders. So that's how that's supposed to be used. And then let's see, a couple things on the services tab. One of the things that most people I find that they don't know about is this little button right here. These are the grid properties, and it says click here to show, hide, or remove columns. By selecting this, I get check boxes of every available option along this column header right here. And so if I select tax, it adds tax over here. If I remove tax, it removes the tax field. Feel free to screenshot this. This is how I have it set up, and the way I recommend people set up, the way I recommend people set it up. And it has everything that you need for, in my opinion, for proper planning, scheduling, and execution. The other thing is this drop down right here. You may not know this, but you can modify what shows up along the top here. Just like over in parts, I showed you that you can actually see how many you have on hand. Well, the way that works, the way that that's set up is over here in the set lookup lists. You'll see I have a services lookup list, a parts lookup list, and whichever fields I have checked off here, description, numbered, billing price, are the ones that are going to show up here, description, number, billing price. and then you can set the length of the field and everything. So you can make it look really nice. And again, screenshot this and make sure that your technicians or yourself has it set up for success, so it's easy to use. Attachments, what's the attachment tab for? Not a whole lot of people use it, but we added it because we had some requests for people to be able to add like invoices for vendor managed work orders to their work orders so that they could toss the invoice and keep an electronic log of it. Technician notes, this is a free place to put your notes. And then you have work order notes over here. Anything that comes from, if a work order comes from a request, then those request notes will be here. As you can see, it auto logs the time that the work order was assigned. If you take pictures from the mobile app, they'll be over here in this section. Calculations, simply as I begin to add hours to this work order, you can see that it starts to calculate the labor cost, the parts cost and a total cost. And that's what feeds my total cost to maintain report through that good service history. The last thing I want to share with you before my time is up is this downtime clock. I hit the downtime clock. If you want to track downtime as related to a demand work order, then all you need to do is come in here, hit the plus button, and you can select the reason. Could say see work order, or there's operator error, scheduled maintenance, unscheduled maintenance. And then this is the time that it sets down. You can see it's 10:33 my time. So it captures the current downtime to the second. And then if I hit this button down here, it captures the downtime to the second. So this is just a couple seconds later. If I save it, it'll save that downtime to the 4th decimal. Okay, so that is work orders in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.